Today, I heard the most idiotic thing I have ever heard come out of the mouth of a black man. This black man literally tried to use the words of Malcolm X to support, to justify voting for Donald Trump. Malcolm X. Malcolm X. There is no low on how far these black men Trump supporters will go to support their white supremacist master. Even using the words of Malcolm X, who fought racism with his life. This infuriates me. This is the devilish disinformation that they're putting out there. And for young black men who have never read Malcolm's autobiography, they know no better. They don't know that Malcolm definitely would have never, ever, ever, ever advised black men to support Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a white supremacist. MAGA is a white supremacist movement. Project 2025 is a white supremacist agenda. Therefore, Malcolm X would never, ever, ever, ever advocate following a white supremacist like Donald Trump. It was white supremacists who caused Malcolm X's mother to experience mental illness. It was white supremacists who murdered Malcolm X's father for working with Marcus Garvey. It was white supremacists who oppressed Malcolm's family. He would never advocate for black men to support a white supremacist movement like MAGA and a white supremacist leader like Donald Trump. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what Malcolm literally said when he talked about the house in the field Negro. That is the narrative that this black man, this ignorant black man, is trying to use to justify supporting Donald Trump. We're going to go and look at that video in just a moment, and then we're going to look at Malcolm's words for themselves. They're going to speak for themselves. Those words are going to show you that this black man is desperate to get black men supporting Trump. Before we do that, please go over to Amazon, grab a copy of my book, Education and Justice, where I'm fighting white supremacy in the public school system. And I show parents how white supremacy is being used to undermine the educational prowess, the academic prowess of black men in this book and what they can do about it. So go over there and get a copy of my book. So let's go and listen to this insanity. This insane black man try to say that the field Negroes would be supporting a white supremacist like Donald Trump. That is amazing. But he actually says it. Let's go look at this video.
Donald Trump has said about an issue near and dear to both of your hearts, the issue of black Americans and Latino voters. Kamala Harris has been doing interviews on black media. Trump, though, is overperforming in polling with both groups compared to past Republicans. Here is what he said when he was campaigning in Pennsylvania.
Any African American or Hispanic, and you know how well I'm doing there, that votes for Kamala, you got to have your head examined, because they are really screwing you. They are really screwing you.
That man is disgusting. That man is disgusting. That man to say to black people they need their heads examined for supporting Kamala Harris? Are we talking about the same Kamala Harris who worked with Joe Biden to give $16 billion to HBCUs? Are we talking about the same Kamala Harris who worked with Joe Biden to get billions of dollars forgiven in black student loan debt? Are we talking about the same Kamala Harris who worked with Joe Biden to get small business loans, record numbers of small business loans for black people? The same Kamala Harris who worked to get the earned income credit for black families? The same Kamala Harris who helped Joe Biden bring down black unemployment to the lowest in American history? Are we talking about that Kamala Harris? Donald Trump is sick, and those people who support him are sick too. For this man to tell black people that their heads need examining for supporting Kamala Harris with all that she did. And she just released a tremendous agenda for the black community. What has Trump released? What has he done? He brags about $250 million in HBCU funding. He tried not to do that. And that's a drop in the bucket compared to what Kamala and Biden did for HBCUs. And by the way, Kamala attended an HBCU, the great Howard University. These people are sick and they're desperate to get back in office. I'm talking about Trump, MAGA, Project 2025. They are desperate to get back in office and to roll back the progress that we, black Americans, have gained. I'm warning you. I'm warning you that's what they're trying to do. I've done all kinds of videos on Project 2025 showing you what they are trying to do to the African American community. Go and watch those videos. But you got to hear this black man. Most insane, idiotic stuff I've heard.
Shelley, to you, what does he achieve with this?
Well, how is it? Wait, first of all, how is he denigrating voters?
He's saying that they are being, for lack of a better word, screwed.
Taken advantage of. They're being taken advantage of. They're paying higher pricing. They're working class, the ones that he's talking about, working class, lower middle class. They're paying more for food, they're paying more for gas, and they're being taken advantage of.
But
and
Shelley,
over the course of 30 years, they voted.
He also said that they, that they had to have their head examined. That is not something that is a compliment.
Obama just told me the same thing. Obama just told me the same thing. I've got black women telling me I'm not really a. He inferred them. He implied them. He certainly did. He even threatened us with, "You're lucky Michelle's not here." I mean, come on. Let's not make things up. Let's be honest here, and let's really be clear what's being said. If you're an African-American man, look, let me boil this election down in the African-American community to a very simple a reference to great Malcolm X. This race is between House African-Americans and field African-Americans. And the field African-Americans are going for Donald Trump. I'm talking about your men who build, your men who put things together, your men who work with their hands, your men who do things, not the men who push paper, or the men who are connected to power and want to continue to be connected to power.
Are you denigrating African American men who are professionals who work in white collar jobs? Is that what I'm hearing from you, or
no?
I'm just trying to understand, is Shelley the House one or the field one? I'm just trying to understand that part. I'm just trying to understand. We have someone who's spitting. I'm just trying to understand the one that's spitting talking points right now. Are you the House Negro or the field Negro that you're referring to? So I just want to make sure. Your question was about denigrating black people. That literally was your question. You have a Republican fool who is talking right now about. You literally just said that black men. You actually.
That, folks, is pure ignorance. For that black man to say that the field Negroes that Malcolm talked about in his narrative would be supporting Donald Trump. Not only is it insane, it is disinformation. It is misleading, intentionally misleading younger black men. But anybody should know better than that. Whether you read Malcolm X's autobiography or not, you should just know for yourself that Malcolm X fought white supremacy. He would have never supported nor encouraged his Muslim brothers to support a white supremacist like Donald Trump. Are you kidding me? That is just, what is wrong with these black men? They're stooping to a new low to try to twist Malcolm X's words to vote for a white supremacist like Donald Trump. Once again, when Malcolm used that narrative, he was saying that the field Negroes despised white supremacists, despised them. It was the House Negroes who were in the House loving on the master, like these black men are doing who are supporting Trump, knowing that he's a white supremacist. Or maybe they don't know, but they should know. They ought to know. And I don't see how they don't know. They're just being willfully blind. But let's read Malcolm's words for ourselves. He tells us exactly what he was saying. Let's go there. So Malcolm described the House and field Negro narrative during a speech he gave at Michigan State University, East Lansing, Michigan, on January 23rd, 1963. That was within my lifetime. The black MAGA Shelley Winter used Malcolm's words, or abused and misused Malcolm's words, to spread disinformation. Let's look at Malcolm's actual words, his actual words. Here's what he said. And I'm quoting him now. So you have two types of Negro, the old type and the new type. Most of you know the old type. When you read about him in history during slavery, he was called Uncle Tom. He was the house Negro. And during slavery, you had two Negroes. You had the house Negro and the field Negro. Now, let's stop there. Where was the house Negro? He was inside the house with the enslaver. He was inside the house with the white supremacists. Are those of us who are not supporting Trump, who abhor Trump, are we close to Trump? Are we supporting Trump? No. It's the Shelleys, the guys who are saying this dumb stuff. They're the ones who are supporting Trump. They're the ones who are in the house with Trump. They're the ones who are surrounding Trump and voting for Trump. So they are not the field Negroes that Malcolm talked about in this narrative. But let's keep reading. The house Negro usually lived close to his master. So when you see these black men around Trump, when you see them all close to Trump, those are the true house Negroes. He wore his master's secondhand clothes. He ate food that his master left on the table. And he lived in his master's house, probably in the basement or the attic, but he still lived in the master's house, meaning he was in the master's vicinity. He was a part of the master's personal entourage. Who does that remind you of? Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, and the others. Shelley Winter is trying to get there. So we see already who the house Negroes are. The field Negroes, no, they weren't in the house. Didn't want anything to do with the house. Let's keep reading. So whenever that house Negro identified himself, he always identified himself in the same sense that his master identified himself. When his master said, "We have good food," the house Negro would say, "Yes, we have plenty of good food. We have plenty of good food." So when Donald Trump says, "I've been better to the black man than any president since Abraham Lincoln," what is the house Negro going to say? "Yes, master been better to black people than anybody since Abraham Lincoln." Is that what we who don't support Trump believe and say? Absolutely not. We know Trump is lying. It's those Tim Scotts, Byron Donalds, Shelley Winters who are saying, "Yes, sir, master, you have been good to us. You have been good to us." When the master said that we have a fine home here, the house Negro said, "Yes, we have a fine home here." When the master would be sick, the house Negro identified himself so much with his master, he'd say, "What's the matter, boss? We sick?" The house Negro identified with the white supremacists. He lived among the white supremacists. He supported the white supremacists. He defended the white supremacists. It's clear who the house Negroes are. The ones who live in the house, the ones who identify Trump, the ones who want to be around Trump. Those are the real house Negroes. Those are not the field Negroes. And just because those people may be the plumbers and they may be the electricians, that doesn't make them field Negroes. No. What determines whether they're a field Negro or not is their proximity and identification with Trump. And just because somebody got education doesn't mean that they are a house negro. That's just plain old anti-intellectualism. That's all that is. That is just trying to put down black men who have made all kinds of sacrifices, like myself, who's a high school dropout, to get education and to make something of my life. That doesn't make me a house negro. Not at all. I am, if you want to characterize me, and I think you can tell, just go look at my videos. I am a certified field negro. I don't want anything to do with master. I don't want anything to do with white supremacists in the sense that I want to identify with them, want to be around them. No, I'm in a fight with them. I'm fighting white supremacy. And the rest of us who oppose Donald Trump. Let's go back. We need to look at Malcolm's words. They speak for themselves. And it hurt him more for his master to be sick than for him to be sick himself. When the house started burning down, that type of Negro would fight harder to put the master's house out than the master himself would. And you see that with these house Negroes around Trump. When there's something going on with Trump, who is it that comes out and defends Trump? No, he didn't mean that. No, he didn't say that. No, he didn't mean that. No, that wasn't racist. No, who does that? Those house Negroes. Like Shelley Winter. But then you had another Negro out in the field. The house Negro was in the minority. The masses, the field. And when you talk about, once again, when you talk about whether educated black people are house Negroes just because they're educated, let me ask you about one Frederick Douglass, who was definitely a field Negro, yet rose to become an educated black man who used his education to fight white supremacy. Just because he got an education, does that mean he became a house Negro? What is this idiot talking about? Frederick Douglass used his education to fight white supremacy, like I and many others are doing. That's why we don't support Trump, because our education has informed us and prepared us to reject the disinformation that this man is putting out. Let's go back. But then you had another Negro out in the field. The house Negro was in the minority. The masses, the field Negroes were the masses. They were in the majority. When the master got sick, they prayed that he die. If his house caught on fire, they'd pray for a wind to come along and fan the breeze. If someone came to the house Negro and said, let's go, let's separate, naturally that Uncle Tom would say, go where? What could I do without boss? Where would I live? How would I dress? Who would look out for me? That's the house Negro. But if you went to the field, the Negro, and to the field Negro and said, let's go, let's separate, he wouldn't even ask you where or how. He'd say, yes, let's go. And that one ended right there. So we see clearly from Malcolm's words who the house Negroes are and who the field Negroes are. Remember, Malcolm said the house Negroes, you know them because they're in the house. They are around. They are around the enslaver. They are in the house with their master. They defend the master. They identify with the master. Okay? Yeah, that's what they did. On the other hand, those field Negroes, they wanted nothing to do with the house. They were repulsed by having to go to the house because they felt naturally more comfortable out in the field where the warriors were, you see. Not being in there around the master, eating that good food, living high on the hog. But you had to pay for that. You had to pay to live high on the hog. You had to pay to get these positions. You have to pay. You have to give a part of yourself to the slave master in order to have the good things that those house Negroes had. But then there were those field Negroes. Oh my God. Like I said, like Frederick Douglass, who was a field Negro, but strong enough to learn how to read and write, how to become an eloquent person who can then use that eloquence and that reading and writing, that literacy, to then dismantle slavery. No, Frederick Douglass was no house Negro because he got educated, no more than us who are in opposition, strong opposition to Donald Trump, and we got some education. This man, Shelley Winter, is ignorant, and he's disseminating disinformation about Malcolm's words. And so this video, I hope you spread this and share this so that these young men will not hear what this individual said and be deceived. And also be looking out for my video where I have explained in detail how they put out this disinformation and how people become prey to this disinformation. It is a very important video. I will be releasing it really, really, really soon. But that's what we're dealing with here. And that is the reason why this guy thinks he can get away with this, because he's thinking that none of us out here who read the autobiography of Malcolm X, who have listened to his speeches, who know what he stood for, he's thinking that we're all ignorant. We're not, Shelley. We're not. I am Attorney Augustus Corbett, one half of the Defiant Lawyers. Thank you for watching this video. Please share it, share it, share it, share it, share it. And until the next time, peace.